Hey, thanks for checking out the beginner sample guitar lesson here for the rock player. I'm Greg Wood, and I'm happy to have you here. We're going to be doing AC/DC's You Shook Me All Night Long. Primarily, it uses the chords G, C, and D, so this video assumes that you know those chords. Okay, so we're going to be doing You Shook Me All Night Long, and as you can see, the chords for this song, just a couple different combinations of G, C, and D. Let's cover the first one, and we're going to do this slow. First of all, there are a couple different shapes of G that it helps to know to do this song, although you do not need to. For my purposes, when I play, I like to use the G shape using my second, third, and fourth fingers, and leaving my first finger free to play that first G. Okay? So I'm going to go. The second chord is C, and that's why I like my first finger free, because if you watch the transition, there's very little movement. These two fingers go from here to here, and the first finger just comes down, and that happens all at the same time. And then to go back, I just move these back over, lift my first finger up, and now my pinky needs to come down. Okay? So it's going to go back and forth between those. So G, C, G, C. Good. So you just want to be able to practice that. So when you practice this, in order to get the song down, practice going from this shape of G, where you use your third, second, and then fourth fingers. So practice those two chords together until it's no problem for you. And just a note about the C, as long as we're going to be increasing the speed that we're switching between them, when I play my C chord, in order that my sixth string doesn't ring, and that's the low E, the fat string, that chord is okay in some situations, but this isn't one of the situations where we want that fat string to ring. When I get to a higher speed, I might not want necessarily to really worry about whether I hit the sixth string with my right hand. Okay, so what I can do with my left hand is if you remember when you were first learning chords, sometimes your arches wouldn't be good enough and it would deaden a string. And sometimes your fingers would be too fat. So, you know, your fat finger would lay over on the other string and it wouldn't ring. Well, in this case, that's what we want to happen. So my third finger, I'm actually kind of putting between my fifth and sixth strings with the emphasis on the fifth string so that that one rings. But it deadens my sixth string. So that's what I'm going for. So here's my G, and here's my C. So when I strike it at a high speed, you never know that that the E string was ever there, the low E string. Okay, so once you've got it down, going between these two chords, it's time to add in the D. So what happens is, he goes G, and then C, G, C, G, D. C, G, C, G, D. And that's what you're going to practice. So practice G, and then you pause, and then C, G, C, G, D. What that means is you actually have to get your transition from your G to your D just as fast as your transition from your G to your C. Okay, and now I do not have a secret to keep these strings from ringing when you play your D chord, because at this point, I really don't think that your thumb should be coming around. Some people use that to mute when they play a D chord. What I want you to do is just aim for the higher strings, aim for the thinner ones. Change the trajectory on your pick so that you actually You don't go straight across all the strings, but you aim down over the higher ones. So in order to get your G to D transition as fast as it can be, one thing you might consider, and it might make things confusing or it might help you, so this is going to be up to you. I actually like switching from the other G position to the D. And now the other G that I use is, and you can do it with all the same frets pressed down, but I like adding in the 3rd fret on the 2nd string. So it's my 3rd fret with my 2nd finger, my 1st finger on my 2nd fret of my 5th string, open, open, now my 3rd fret again, now with my 3rd finger, and now my pinky on the 1st string, 3rd fret. The reason I like to transition from this G to the D is that I can leave my 3rd finger down the whole time. It anchors me in place. I don't have to look at my neck at this point because now I've gotten so used to this anchor staying there from practicing the G to D this way. So one thing you might think about doing is going G, C, G, C, okay, so the last G before the D, you might switch to this other position for a quicker transition that's more accurate. It just might help you. The G to the C, you can see, is such a small transition, that's why we do that. And from this G to D, I can kind of leave my anchor down. That's why I like that one. So now the other one. Switching from this G to this D, the other thing I keep in mind is I'm keeping this anchor down, and my 3rd finger, it's kind of threading the needle between these 2 fingers. So you can see how it's passing between. If you remember those 2 things about switching from G to D in this G shape, is that this finger threads the needle, and then your pinky comes up, but your 3rd finger stays down. So that can become a very, very fast transition for you. So okay, and then to finish out this part of the song, which is all we're going to cover in the sample lesson here, you're going to go G, and this is why I like to switch to this G, because there's a whole part here now where I have to go back and forth between G and D. So there's the first G strike, and then there's 5 chords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 5 more chords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's just going to be groups of 5. After this first one, it's all groups of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the verse of You Shook Me All Night Long by AC/DC. It's nice and simple, and it's a really great way to get your transitions down, because there's nothing more motivating than playing a song that you're familiar with, especially a pretty cool song.